We are anonymous. We do not serve kings. We do not kneel before billionaires. And we do not stay silent when a lie grows so massive it threatens to smother the truth beneath it. Listen closely, because what you are about to hear is not just a breaking story. It is the unraveling of a long-running political illusion, an illusion built by Donald Trump, protected by his loyalists, and repeated so many times that millions were expected to swallow it without question. But now the illusion is cracking, and everyone around him sees it. There is an old quote you may have heard, a quote from a man whose tiny mustache became the symbol of global destruction, the man who fueled atrocities in the 1920s and 1930s and ignited the deadliest war in history. His chilling phrase still echoes. The bigger the lie, the more people will believe it. And whether he realizes it or not, Donald Trump has lived his entire life by that rule. From childhood, his father told him one thing above all else: never admit you are wrong, never accept fault, lie louder, and if anyone challenges you, blame them instead. And now in this breaking story, we see the consequences of a lifetime built on that creed. After the elections on November 4th, even people in Trump's inner circle, advisors, strategists, donors, finally admitted what they had privately feared. The lie is no longer working. It is crumbling. And the collapse starts where it always does in politics: the economy. Because no matter how loudly a politician shouts, Americans know when their wallets are empty. They know when groceries cost more. They know when the bills pile up. And no amount of speeches or slogans or propaganda can erase the reality of everyday life. That is why the panic you are seeing inside Trump's circle is real. All you have to do is look at the interview with George Stephanopoulos, a moment that perfectly captures the desperation. Stephanopoulos did not come with attacks. He came with facts: inflation figures, consumer prices, energy costs, mortgage rates, grocery increases, numbers that millions of Americans are living with every single day. And Trump's spokesman, he tried to talk around all of it. He tried to pretend gasoline was down, interest rates were down, mortgages were down. Statements contradicted not only by government data, but also by Republican lawmakers. Stephanopoulos pushed harder. Electricity up, coffee up, beef up, vegetables up. The consumer price index, higher than at the start of the year. Those are not partisan arguments. Those are not opinions. Those are facts. But Trump's world does not run on facts. It runs on ego. So anything that conflicts with that ego becomes fake. That is why when he sat with Laura Ingraham, he doubled down on the same script. The economy is the strongest it has ever been. Interest rates are down. Energy is down. Every bit of it disconnected from the data, disconnected from economic reports, disconnected from the lived reality of millions of Americans. When Ingraham asked why polls show people are anxious about the economy, Trump brushed it off. I do not know that they are saying that. Polls are fake. Of course he does. Because acknowledging the truth threatens the illusion. But here is where the breaking story becomes even more revealing. Because the economy was not just weakening, jobs were being lost. The latest report showed 50,000 jobs disappearing. Instead of addressing the problem, Trump fired the person responsible for reporting accurate data so he would not have to hear the truth. That is not leadership. That is fear. And inside the White House, that fear is spreading. CNN reported that Trump's own advisors are begging him to stop downplaying Americans' financial pain. They are worried that if he keeps acting like the cost of living crisis does not exist, voters will punish Republicans in the 2026 midterms, just like they punished them on November 4th. One advisor said it simply: you cannot convince people that what they feel at home is not reality. And they are right. Because no political message, no speech, no rally, no Fox News segment can erase someone's rising grocery bill. Meanwhile, Trump, sitting atop a claimed net worth of $6.6 billion, insists everything is fine. He cannot understand everyday struggle because he has never lived it. Not once. Not in childhood, not in business, not in his presidency, and not now. His wealth shields him from the economy he brags about. But that shield does not protect the American people. According to a recent CNN SSRS poll, 72% of Americans say the economy is somewhat or very poor. 61% say Trump's policies, especially tariffs, made things worse. And that number is devastating, because Trump's tariffs were always built on a lie that the money came from foreign countries. But every economist, conservative or liberal, has said the same thing. Tariffs are taxes paid by Americans. They raise prices on imports. They raise costs for businesses. And those costs ultimately fall on consumers. Yet Trump keeps insisting this is his greatest economy. He keeps talking like the data does not exist. Like numbers are optional, like reality is negotiable. And now we see what happens when a man who never accepts responsibility is confronted with facts he cannot control. The breaking reports describe an Oval Office outburst after the election losses. Trump reportedly snapped, "I do not want to hear about affordability," then insisted falsely that Thanksgiving dinner would be cheaper than last year. Every major grocery chain contradicted him, but the lie had already left his mouth. That is why advisors are not just worried, they are frantic. They know the American people are paying more. They know inflation remains. They know interest rates have not magically collapsed. They know Trump's speeches are not easing the pressure families feel. So they are pitching a new idea. Send Trump on a national speaking tour. Let him flood the country with economic messaging. Let him hold rallies focused on his talking points. They hope that if he talks enough, maybe some Americans will forget the facts. But that is not how reality works. Every time a family checks out at a grocery store, every time someone pays their electricity bill, every time rent increases or a mortgage becomes harder to afford, the truth hits harder than any speech Trump can give. And while the White House tries to spin Trump's press secretary Caroline Leavitt, the same one he complimented on her lips, goes on television to claim, "Trust in Trump. He created the greatest economy before and he is doing it again." But she also told reporters that everyone knows there is voter fraud in California, repeating it again and again. It is just a fact. It is just a fact. It is just a fact. This is the playbook. Repeat the lie until it feels familiar. Turn misinformation into muscle memory. Hope the public gets tired of fighting back. But here is where Trump hit the wall. You can lie about polls. You can lie about inflation. You can lie about tariffs. You can lie about economic strength. But you cannot lie to someone who cannot afford groceries. That is the boundary he cannot cross. Because Americans do not need economists to tell them when life gets harder. They do not need charts or graphs or government reports to identify financial stress. They feel it in their homes, in their kitchens, at the gas pump, at the checkout line. And that is why Trump's illusion is falling apart. The lie is no longer big enough. Reality is too heavy. The truth is too obvious. People are struggling. People are frustrated. People are tired of being told their suffering does not exist. And they are realizing that the man lecturing them on the economy is the same man who has never once shopped for himself, never once balanced a budget, never once lived without privilege cushioning every step. This is the turning point. Because when a political movement loses control of its narrative, when the public stops believing the message, when economic pain breaks through propaganda, the collapse begins. And that is what we are witnessing. But the story is not just about Trump's lies. It is about the people who believed them, the advisors who protected them, the media figures who repeated them, the politicians who echoed them for power. And now those same people are scrambling to distance themselves. They see the polling. They see the panic. They see the public anger. They see the wave coming. The illusion is fading. And when illusions fade, truth steps forward. So listen carefully. The fear inside Trump's orbit is not about policy. It is not about messaging. It is not even about the 2026 midterms. It is about what happens when a man who built his empire on denial is finally forced to confront a reality he cannot outrun. Because for the first time in a long time, Americans are not buying the script, and that terrifies him. If you want more people to see what they are not supposed to see, like this video, if you want the truth to cut through the noise, share it. If you want to help expose the machinery behind the illusion, subscribe. We are anonymous. We are the voice that does not bow. We are the light where lies cannot hide. And we are not going anywhere.